Hey guys, Ken here. We're going to talk about multiplication of rectilinear forms. We've already discussed division of rectilinear forms, and which gave us how to reduce forms to divide them mathematically within. Now multiplication is going to show us how to carry forms into perspective and repeat forms, especially when they are equally spaced. Like a set of light poles, or really like railroad tracks. So chapter 11 gets into a little bit of that, as well as some of your handouts. Talk about multiplication, but I'm going to show it to you while doing it. All right. So we want to figure out how to repeat a form. And yes, as always, we could go ahead and measure and do it the math way, the construction way, the woodworking way, whatever. But we're going to use some tricks that work. Okay, so we want to take this box and draw a series of them, because that would be awesome, drawing a series of boxes, now wouldn't it? So first of all, we need to find the center again. Just like we found the center when we were dividing. So we go ahead and do our little X marks the spot to find that center point again. Now, since we are going to be dividing or multiplying this into a series of boxes along this line, this plane, I'll go ahead and darken out. So you can see I am going to carry these boxes horizontally towards the right. Okay, so again, I've made my axis to find exact center. That center is going to give us the center horizontally. Now, since I'm working flat, since I'm not employing perspective here, I know center is going to be parallel to the top and bottom. So I don't have to go ahead and try to measure it up like I do in perspective. We'll get to that in a second. So we've found the complete center of this rectangle. We have now found the center horizontally. We have drawn our X marks the spot. The trick to carrying this exact width over to here is another line from top corner to the corner where center hits the edge, and carrying it down through past the edge down to that bottom line, or bottom plane if we are in perspective. Now at this point, that gives us our third vertical. We have now reproduced that rectangle exactly over to here. Now to do a third one, we just do the same thing. Find that top corner. Look at our center line running through horizontally. Extend that down, out past the edge, down past the bottom. We've got our fourth vertical. Come on. You can see where this is going. We could go on forever. Corner, center line, and we could go from the top, if we want, out, or from the bottom, which I already did, but there we go. We found another vertical. As long as we have that center line, which I'll darken, and our two sides of the box, just keep going. Corner, center, where center intersects the edge. There's our next vertical. And it just goes on and on. However long you want to do this. Which, you know, I do it for hours. Okay. So that's the principle when everything's flat. We're going to apply this to perspective. Because perspective is what pays the bills. That's why we're here, perspective. So, okay. Clearly we have a volumetric or glass box in 2-point perspective, and I've gone ahead and this time I've drawn out our vanishing points just to make it a little easier. So, what do we have? We have planes, two front our side plane here, and our other larger side plane here, which are facing us. We want to go ahead and let's say I want to keep making boxes into infinity. We do the same thing we did when it was flat. Same thing we did when it was flat, and same thing we did when we divided. We're going to go ahead and find center with our X marks the spot theory. I'm going to find center of this plane and center of this plane for fun and education. Because what's funner than education? All right. Center. Center. This is the center going out into space. As well as this is now the center going back that way. Now notice, this is the center of the plane. This is not the horizon line. I've drawn a horizon line up here. And you see our center is below the horizon line because we're looking a little bit down on this box. In fact, this one, I've gone ahead and made the second box completely below horizon to show you that it works the same way here. But let's get back to this one. Again, we have center. We've found all our centers. We want to do another box to the right of it. So we're going to continue that bottom out into space towards our vanishing point. Continue the top way back to our vanishing point. We'll do it the same on this side. Vanishing point, back towards vanishing point. Alright, so remember, top corner to where it crosses, where the side crosses the edge and beyond. So, top corner down to where the side crosses the edge and beyond. Boom, boom, boom. This point is now the point where our next vertical starts. In perspective, as you know, it's going to shrink as we go further back. This line is not going to be the same as this line like it was when we were flat. Just like in division, when we saw how things shrink as they go into perspective. You know that. You know that stuff. Perspective. Things shrink as they go further away. So we've got our second box. Keep going. Do a third box. We'll go from the bottom up this time. You want bottom corner where the middle crosses the side and beyond. Boom. There's where our next vertical starts. We've got a third one. 1, 2, 3. And it goes on forever. Let's do the side one. Bottom corner to where the center crosses the side. Out, beyond. There's our second vertical. Second box. Let's keep going. Bottom corner to the side where the center crosses the side. Our third box. We keep going. Top corner, because it doesn't matter, to where the center crosses the side. Fourth box. On and on. And so on, forever. Now, I did this one just to show you that it does not matter where the horizon is in this procedure, because our horizon is up there. We're done with this one. We're not looking at that anymore. So our entire box is below the horizon. You could know that because you see the top plane of this box. And it doesn't matter. We still do the same thing. We find that center. Center. We're not relying on the horizon. We want to find the center of these edges. But guess what? That center also runs back to the vanishing point. As well as this center runs back to the vanishing point. You'll see that some boxes magically appeared. That's because my battery died. But I'll go over it again. So I had this side plane. I found center. By doing my X's, I found the horizontal center. I went corner to center, where center meets the edge, center, edge. Drew my line out. That gave me our next vertical. Did the same thing, corner to where center meets the edge, drew it out, next vertical. So you get that. You totally get that. I'm sure you do. We can go this way if you want. I know my boxes are going to be on these lines. Go ahead and find my center via the X, which gives us the X. Run that horizontal center back to the vanishing point. I'll go bottom corner up to where horizontal center meets the edge. Extend that out. Now I've got a new vertical. I've now doubled that plane. I can keep going, but it gets all screwy. So this also works in one-point perspective. Let's think about railroad tracks for a second. Railroad tracks comes up a lot in perspective lessons. For good reason. So I drew a horizon line, I'll do a vanishing point, 1 point. Pretend we're looking down some railroad tracks. And we want to find how to draw equal railroad ties all the way down. So let's say we're already looking at our set of 2 railroad ties, and we want to draw them equally all the way down in perspective. Same thing. X to find center. A little off, of course. Okay. Center. That gives us a midpoint that extends all the way back to the vanishing point. We use that same trick. Corner to center, where the center crosses that edge, or this railroad tie. This edge is now the top, because before we were turned sideways, now we're this way. Edge, top, whatever. Center, wherever that center of our perspective is. Corner to center and beyond. That's where our next railroad tie would be. And we can keep going. Finding each one in proper diminishment for perspective. There's no way you'd ever be able to do the math for all this, although I don't know, somebody could. But this is just going to keep going. Each railroad tie set starting to appear shorter and shorter as we go out. That's a bad one. You know, until eventually they shrink, they keep getting smaller, shorter, closer together. Eventually they're all going to run together. But this is now a proper reduction in perspective of things that you know are equal. Because you know, if you look at it from the top, the railroad ties are equal. You got it. So I already ran through this, but my battery died, so I'm going to do it again. What if I told you we took our birdhouse that we did, and I'll darken that because I got a million lines here. That birdhouse, what if I said make more of them? Keep going. I just considered this again. Considered this rectangle. Found center, which we already did when we drew this because we needed to find center for that. But again, center vertically is also the same horizontally if we're running it off into our vanishing point, which we don't have here. But I went ahead and just used, you know, my intuitive perspective because I know it's, you know, it's not going to be like this. It's going to be somewhere in between these angles. And that just comes with practice. Some of you guys on the homework, I saw some doorways that were a little screwy on the top. But remember, anything on this plane, this flat plane, any horizontal line on that flat plane is going to point to a vanishing point. So there was that window there. I don't know, I'm not looking at the page, but I think it was over here. That bottom, where's that going to be? It's not going to be straight across. It's going to head towards the vanishing point, which is somewhere out there. But anyway, that's another story. And you got that. So again, I found center. I did that same trick. I went from the bottom corner to where the center horizontally crossed the edge of that birdhouse. I carried it out. I found our next vertical. And this would be our second birdhouse, because I found center again. Ran that up. There's the peak of that gable. I would do my split that into threes again to find my door. You know, these edges. Again, I would do that trick again, just like it's flat, just like it's any perspective plane, to just keep repeating off into the distance by finding center, drawing that line from the bottom to where center, past center, and it gives me the next one. And each one, as you know, is going to appear more narrow and more narrow. Corner, center, out, vertical, till eventually they're so thin, you know. But you get it. I think you get it. Ask me if there's any questions. Just email me. I'll help you out. We'll get this. Multiplication. All right.